Good morning. I'm Teresa Mueller. I am the chair for the Commercial Global Business Network of NICAR. That's our commercial association in Illinois. And we have this monthly series where we are introducing commercial practitioners all over the world, giving hot topics, whether it be upcoming projects, marketing forecasts, etc. And every month it's been somewhere different. We've had from Africa, we've had from India, Mexico, Canada, more generic, a gateway cities forecast with Brandon Speck. So we've had a huge lineup of speakers for the past year, and we welcome new speakers. My very best friend and helper, Ahmed, he's the best. He is going to tell you a little bit more about the series and what we're doing globally.
Thank you, Teresa. So basically, what our focus is we started this last year in terms of our webinars, and being an NICAR Global Ambassador, one of the things I look to is for my partners. I represent 3 countries, but we're not just confined to those 3 countries. We are also looking at a topic that you have in mind, as long as it is global. So with that in mind, I know I've got a good group here from Nigeria, and hello to my friends from Nigeria. It's always a pleasure having you here because, they've been very responsive to all our webinars, including participation. But I'd like to call out Holly. Do I see Holly Becker? Holly is the new kid on the block, and Holly is the new NAR manager for global alliances and business development. Holly, are you?
I'm here.
There you are. Thank you, Holly. Just a welcome to the group. Welcome to NAR, and a quick few words to the group, please.
Yes, well, thank you. I'm really happy to be a part of this and just really excited to learn about what you all are doing. And I'll be working more with Ahmed in the coming weeks to learn more, and just really looking forward to this. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Andy, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yes, just say a few words. Andy is the 2022 president of NICAR. Go ahead, Andy.
Yes, thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, Teresa, both for your leadership of the Commercial Global Business Network at NICAR. What you've done over the last several months and years has been fantastic. Thank you to all the participants today, the speakers. Without you and your expertise, these webinars would not be possible. And then finally, thank you as well to all the participants who will be watching. And I hope that you enjoy and spread the word about what we are doing at NICAR, at Commercial Global Business Network specifically. And that's it for now. Thank you all.
Thank you, Andy. Go ahead, Teresa. It's all yours.
Thank you very much, Ahmed and Andy. So for some people just came on after we started this session and it had been briefly paused. So I'm just going to repeat a couple quick things. I'm Teresa Mueller, the chair for our Global Business Network, and we have Commercial Global Business Network presentations. As we go out through the presentation now or throughout the presentation, feel free to put your contact information in the chat that can be downloaded at the end. We will have a networking session afterwards. But in over the next half an hour, 40 minutes, we will have 4 different presenters. We will start with Mike Cobb, then Steve Streetman, Blake Allen, and then Larry Yu. And I will give their bio just before they start presenting. And after they have each presented, we will have a question and answer session and post that a commercial real estate needs and wants networking session. So we're going to start with Mike Cobb. This is someone who I met on a bus randomly in Chicago, and just then wound up happening to be in one of his developments in Nicaragua. I was supposed to go to MIPIM a couple years ago, but that was canceled at the 11th hour and I wanted to go somewhere, and I remembered him talking about Nicaragua, and I'd never been there, and I wanted to see lava, and I had my business booked out. So I said, I'm heading to Nicaragua. So I got to really learn a lot about some of his developments. He could tell you a little bit more, but he is a Latin American developer, and he has also started engaging in the crypto world and has a new development in part because of that. So without further ado, Mike, if you want to expand on what I started talking about.
Sure, Teresa, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I think, in fact, it was a little bit more interesting than that because you actually got stranded in Nicaragua because of the COVID. And how long were you actually there? You were there for what, 3-4 weeks, something like that?
I was there for a few weeks, and I was having a great time horseback riding, eating seafood, exploring. And everyone's like, we're worried about you. You need to come back to the US. I go, what? Enjoying your misery? I'm having a great time. No, thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, right. And Ahmed, really thank you putting this together. I know you and Teresa, she calls you the sidekick, but I think you're probably the guy behind the scenes doing most of the work. So I appreciate everything that you guys do to get the global word out. And it really is important. I know that I spoke last year about some of the challenges that commercial developers can face when they go overseas. And it was a very interesting presentation. Went out to lunch afterwards. It was great to hear the feedback on that. You know, today we're going to talk obviously about crypto and how that interfaces with real estate. And I'm going to be very specific on my comments to Latin America. So let me go ahead and jump in. You know, the reason we're in the crypto space is we started taking Bitcoin about 5 years ago for transactions. And people always say, well, it's so volatile. And we don't really keep very much crypto when we take it. We take it, we convert it to cash. Our suppliers, I mean, we're a developer. We build roads, water, sewer systems, you know, fiber optics, all that kind of stuff. You know, our vendors take dollars. So we convert most of our coin over. But because we started taking it 5 years ago, we got known in the industry. We've spoken at many of the crypto and Bitcoin conferences, and it really is an exciting area. And it's a disruptor, and we're going to talk about that too, but it's an exciting area, and we just need to understand how to engage this demographic, how to engage the folks that are crypto savvy, who are wanting to own real estate with it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about KYC, know your client, AML, any money laundering, due diligence. That's a big part of it as well. And then some of the hot spots folks are buying. The one thing I always like to just start with, because I never know how familiar people are on a presentation like this with Bitcoin, specifically the blockchain and cryptocurrency, and what the difference is. You know, Bitcoin is a software program, and it was written on the blockchain. The blockchain was developed for it, but out of the blockchain emerge other types of cryptocurrencies, for example, and other types of record keeping, and it becomes a really strong backbone for other applications beyond just Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. There's a lot here to talk about. We're just going to skip on, but just understand Bitcoin is a currency. The blockchain is the foundation, and it is what produces other cryptocurrencies as well. Money certainly has changed over time, right? We've seen that. I mean, it went from silver coins to gold to physical dollars, you know, ledgers. And if you walk into a store, you could, you know, put something on credit, go pay for it later. You know, and it's moved from, you know, checkbooks to credit card, diners club, right, to phones. Right now, you can actually use your phone to, you know, transfer money. And the evolution of crypto and Bitcoin in this case specifically is just the next evolution of money. And again, Bitcoins are worth about 40,000 today, but they get broken down into very, very small denominations. So like pennies, right? So from dollars to pennies. So again, transactions can occur at many, many levels of monetary amount. And we're going to look at why that's important in a minute with El Salvador specifically. The one thing I like to talk about here, and it's really sort of the why you should care about this. I think there's 60 folks on this call this morning, and good, because you know, I think, you know, we should be paying attention to it. The big money is absolutely engaged. About 16% of the US population either owns or plans to own crypto at this moment. And the biggest generations are the millennial and the Gen Zers. And we might be looking at those as folks in the real estate industry and saying, well, you know, that they're not buying much real estate. And you're right. As a percentage basis, they're not buying very much real estate today. But over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, these generations will be the predominant buyers. The millennial generation is now the biggest demographic in the United States. It has overtaken the baby boomers. Big money, these are many, many institutions you can see that are in the crypto space. About 20% of all hedge funds actually have some crypto in their portfolios. This is the statistics where about 8% own crypto today and another 7.5% are considering it. Again, there's a lot of little, non-green white people there that are, not involved at this point. But again, as more and more people pick it up, we can either ignore this 16% or we can participate. And I hope that many of you will decide to participate. 2 million Bitcoin users. I don't know. This is a funny article, but my eye and pay attention to is that 92% of millennials do not trust banks. I mean, that's powerful information. We just need to pay attention to it. I'd like to just quickly hit on the 3 biggest mistakes, losing your password, picking a password that's too easy to guess, or we're not securing the seed. And the seed is sort of those questions like, what was your car, what was your pet's first name? That's what that seed is. And so those are very, very important to lock away and protect so that if you do lose your password, you can get recovery of that password. One of the things my wife's best friend from high school was out at our home, I don't know, a few months ago, and we were talking about crypto or whatever. And she says, only drug dealers do crypto. Well, I mean, of money laundering funds in the euros and pounds, right? And the idea that tainted money flies around. Well, I mean, if somebody buys drugs today and whatever, a couple of days later, dollars move in cycles, the crypto moves in cycles as well. The nice thing about crypto is that unlike dollars, there's a real strong anti-money laundering, know your client procedure in place for most transactions. And I would stay away from any transaction where there wasn't this level of know your client. The kinds of things on here, for example, the proof of address, like a utility bill, a transaction to occur in a way that is safe and secure. We can see able to recover about 85%. Not, it's not totally anonymous, especially when you've got down and get those funds back. Lots of procedures. Again, there's a lot of information here. We're not going to get in.
So apparently Mike was having a bad connection. So we will move on to our next presenter and hopefully he'll be able to log back on. And we will start next with Steve Streetman. A little bit of background on Steve. He is a data scientist, systems engineer, commercial real estate investor, and exchanger, and an avid cryptocurrency investor. His background is in cryptography and has a career in systems integration and risk assessment, combined with real estate investment expertise. So he can give a little bit more background on that and explain. He probably also wants to explain a little bit about being an exchanger. So without further ado, Steve, if you could go ahead.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, I'm Steve Streetman. As she says, I started my career breaking codes and ciphers and turned into a bunch of data scientists. So since cryptography underlies cryptocurrency, I always found it very fascinating. And I was actually got into cryptocurrency about 5 years ago now, when I traded land for cryptocurrency. So rather than actually having to liquidate the cryptocurrency and then buy stuff, you can actually just trade the cryptocurrency directly for properties. So I got very interested in that sort of exchange type of methodology and started looking into all kinds of synergies between real estate and cryptocurrency and ended up writing a book. So there is a book that's on Amazon. It's been out since last April. It's called Cryptocurrency and Real Estate. And earlier in the chat, I put a website, cryptorebook.com, which you can go to. You can find the book through that site, or you can just go to Amazon and search for it. So I've done a number of things with cryptocurrency and real estate, and I'm working on a number of projects. And I thought maybe rather than going into basics, I see Steve's holding up a copy of my book, if you can see him. Rather than going into that, I'll talk about some of the things that I'm doing with it and the implications that there are for real estate and cryptocurrency. So as I said, I traded land for cryptocurrency. I'm currently involved in two projects. One is an assisted living portfolio where I'll be putting 25% down using xtroptions.gold, which is an altcoin. I'm involved in another project with Panama. So it's beachfront land in Panama where the owner is taking $2 million down in RexNet, which is another kind of cryptocurrency. And so there's many, many ways to structure deals using real estate and cryptocurrency, and a lot of good reasons to do it. Cryptocurrency is the fastest appreciating asset class in history. It's made more billionaires more quickly than anything else in the history of the world. But then you have real estate, which has wonderful stability and tax advantages and cash flow and all these other things that cryptocurrency doesn't have. So I'm of a mind that you ought to combine the two of them in your portfolio. There's huge synergies from doing that. So if you want to structure a deal with real estate and cryptocurrency, you can certainly buy it with cryptocurrency. I use it as a down payment. I've used cryptocurrency as a deposit. So essentially the earnest money in a deal. You can look at cross-collateralization, where you add cryptocurrency as additional collateral on a real estate loan and get a larger loan to value. There's just many, many different ways to structure deals. As I pointed out, I'm involved in a project in Panama. International real estate is especially good for cryptocurrency because transferring cryptocurrency is all cloud-based, it's all internet. It is just as easy for me to transfer Bitcoin from my wallet to a wallet in South Africa or a wallet in Indonesia or a wallet even in Ukraine. I believe a lot of people are going to Bitcoin in Ukraine right about now. And the deal about that is, unlike with wires of money, which can often get stopped at borders, there really is no way to stop a cryptocurrency transfer. So there's a lot of good reasons to be able to do that. And I'm sure that Mike appreciates that with all of his international development. It's really easy for him to accept Bitcoin from anyone in the world for his developments. So now there are challenges when you want to do a deal of cryptocurrency for real estate. It's unfamiliar with title companies. And then what about real estate brokers? Real estate brokers want to get paid, right? Every one of you, I suspect, will have to answer that question sometime in the next few years. Will I take part of my commission in cryptocurrency instead of dollars? And thinking now about how you would answer that and how you can help your clients is a very good thing to be doing. There are also issues with just the overall closing process. Who's going to hold the cryptocurrency? How will it be exchanged into wallets? But there are solutions to all of them. It just takes a little bit of working through. And I have closed deals with cryptocurrency. So I know that it's possible even when you're working with third parties that have no clue how to handle it. So in the interest of moving on, the other big thing that I want to talk about with cryptocurrency, you understand Bitcoin is one cryptocurrency out of, as Mike pointed out, about 15,000 right now. So 15,000 cryptocurrencies out there. Almost all of them are very special purpose. Think of them something like frequent flyer miles, right? Only for another company. Or, and I want to talk about particularly NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and security tokens, because both of those have a role in how you own real estate. Just last month, Propy.com did the first ever US auction of a house in Florida, where the house ownership was captured as a non-fungible token. So it was a unique token, one person, one owner. What they essentially did was they created an LLC, they put the house in the LLC, they created a non-fungible token that represented the ownership in the LLC, and they auctioned the token. So essentially they auctioned the house by auctioning the token. This is easy to do. I think there are some potentially problematic issues with the approach, but there's a huge potential for putting real estate title on the blockchain. Zimbabwe started putting title on their blockchain, and the values of the properties that were on the blockchain went up 10% due to the certainty of title. So imagine that affecting the value of the properties by 10% just by having the certainty of title. Other countries like Estonia and Georgia, I believe, are also putting their title in the blockchain. And in the US, Cook County did an initial pilot project for that. I'm not sure if that's ongoing or not. It helps if you have a Torrens title system, which I believe Cook County does, and some US states and many other countries, but many US states don't. So it may be a little more challenging to do that. So one way of putting real estate title is with an NFT, one person, one property. But if you're in commercial real estate, you're probably working a lot with syndicators and syndications. And there's another approach we also call tokenization, where you do something called a security token offering. Essentially, it's exactly like a syndication, only instead of the investors owning a membership in an LLC, they own a cryptocurrency token that represents a membership in an LLC. And why would you want to do that? There's a couple of good reasons, but the biggest one is liquidity. Cryptocurrency is easy to put onto an exchange. So you can follow all of the SEC rules, you can do your PPM, you could even have, let's say, a 506c offering, and you can have your investors buy into that. After a year, your investors are typically allowed to sell their interests in the LLC on a secondary market without restrictions to accredited investors or whatever. Cryptocurrency allows you to provide that secondary market. I'm currently working with a partner to build a place called retokens.com. Doesn't exist yet. You can't go there yet. We're planning to launch in May, but we're trying to build the largest secondary market for real estate tokens in the world. And we think we can do that because of our presence in the exchange community and our presence with syndication communities. But imagine now if you have your investors, your clients coming in and you're trying to syndicate an offering, well, instead of their money being locked up for 3 years or 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, at least until the syndicator wants to do it, they would be able to sell all or part of their holdings after about a year. And they can be flexible. They can sell a piece of it. They can sell all of it. They can do whatever they want. We think that this is going to change syndication worldwide. And what's really cool about this also from the international perspective, security tokens have smart contracts underlying them that automatically enforce the securities laws. And they don't just enforce the US securities laws. Most of them will enforce the securities laws from, say, the top 50 countries that do investments overseas. So you're automatically going to be compliant in Europe. You're automatically going to be compliant in the US. You'll automatically be compliant all around the world. And so this is a really unique way of changing the way you own real estate worldwide. So now the other thing, the other benefit besides the liquidity, if you look at the price and the market value of real estate, it's dependent partially on how hard it is and how illiquid real estate is. It takes you 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to sell a property oftentimes. If you know that you have liquidity where you can sell in minutes, the estimates are that the value of your equity in the real estate will go up 10% to 20%. So imagine if your clients now can not only have liquidity, but they can have the value of their equity increase 10 to 20% by doing a tokenization. I think within 3 to 5 years, tokenization will take over from syndication largely. So interesting things there. Let's see, what else did I want to say? Oh, there may also be some opportunities with what we're working through on this to either manage, reduce, or possibly even eliminate some of the capital gains from a real estate sale. We're looking into 2 or 3 different possibilities for working that out. And it's a little premature to actually make any real claims right now, but we're working this through our accountants and through the attorneys, but there's some case law coming out that may allow some amount of capital gains reduction from going through the tokenization side. And I think I've probably taken my share of the time. So, and I know I always want to hear Blake speak. So I'll make sure that Blake has plenty of time to talk as well. But I'll be happy to stay around for questions at the end.
Thank you very much, Steve. And real quick before Blake goes, if Mike Cobb, if you can unmute yourself so he could just kind of wrap up what he was trying to say, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. And I'm going to keep my video
You know
off.
what, Mike?
I don't
Mike, it's not
know
working out. You're
why
very,
my internet's unstable, but
I'm gonna mute him.
the real bottom.
Okay, so it's not working out for Mike to talk right now. So we will go next with Blake. He is the owner of Allen Realty. It's based out of Colorado, licensed for over 30 years. He's gone to tons of exchange meetings, also with 1031. So I'll have him talk a little bit more about exchange and his relationship to this crypto world.
Hello, thank you, Teresa. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, good. Hopefully I won't cut out. I will do a share screen here in a second. I'm, like Teresa said, I'm Blake Allen from Allen Realty here in Colorado Springs. I know Steve Streetman and Steve Smullen for a long time with the exchangers. What exchangers are people who meet in groups. Now we do it on Zoom quite a bit, and we exchange property. So we don't just do buy sell transactions, we do exchanges. And so what I'm going to introduce to you is an exchange formula that I use regularly, and I'll try to tell you how it might go in conjunction with the with the subject that we have today. So we have I think it's relevant for cryptocurrency and international real estate as well. And then also I noticed Noah Ruggieri's on here. He's a partner with me in from Champaign. He and his father are also active exchangers, and I think all of you Chicago folks know them well. So let me share my screen here and go to the proper one there. Are you seeing it properly now, Teresa?
Yes,
Good
can.
deal. Okay, so this is a super quick intro we're going to have. So we're talking about trading one piece of real estate for another. How is it relevant? What's the relevance for the international and the crypto market? Imagine instead of the notes and deeds of trust that I'm talking about, you just put any sort of currency or cryptocurrency. It can be held by the qualified intermediary. We can talk about that later, but if you're interested in crypto and you say, oh, this guy's talking about notes and deeds of trust, just put crypto in your mind. And as far as international, Michael Cobb wanted me to make an emphasis. So we in the United States have a 1031, a tax law called 1031 exchanging, where we can go from title to one piece of real estate to title to another piece of real estate without taxation. US citizens also, when they go abroad with real estate, can trade international real estate for other international real estate without taxation here in the States until they bring the money back. I'm not a tax expert or an attorney, so make sure that everybody agrees with that, but this stuff can be done internationally as well. So what I'm talking about is specific to the 1031 process in the United States, but it can be applied everywhere, and cryptocurrency could be here instead of notes. So to your regular commercial practitioners in the United States is where we're starting with. Did you know that a seller can carry financing and still do a 1031 exchange? Most people aren't aware that you can still do a tax deferred exchange even if you do a seller carry. So the promissory notes and deeds of trust or mortgages in Illinois can be used in 1031 exchanges the same way we use cash. The disclosures. Okay, this is only for experienced people who are familiar with the 1031 process. Attorneys and loan originators make the notes. We don't, as real estate people, create the notes. Qualified intermediaries in the United States are required to hold the notes. Internationally, I think they could just be passed from one to the other. It's only property held for investment. So this is not owner-occupied residential real estate. And I know this is a commercial group, so I shouldn't have to say that. But you must have requisite experience or co-op with a broker with that experience in order to meet the competency requirement as a broker and to protect your clients. You have a few members from Illinois here who are competent to do this process. So what do I mean when I say 1031 paper? There's the sort of long definition. Is a seller carry note or a contract for deed, a mortgage, leasehold, or anything whatsoever. So cryptocurrency could be part of it, passed through the 1031 process, resulting in a 1031 tax deferred exchange. So as long as the qualified intermediary holds the the note or the currency, you go from real estate to real estate, you won't be taxed. So it's basically, it's trading real estate for an IOU and then buying something with that IOU. The qualified intermediary holds the IOU to qualify for 1031 treatment. And this is just to allow for tax deferment. So here's my little cartoon that I made. So you have a property on the left and somebody comes and puts something down, cash or a pickup truck if they need to. And they're asking the person with this property to carry the financing. But the owner of this property does not want to carry financing. He wants to buy this other property, which is a traditional 1031. He traditionally thinks someone's going to come with cash. He'll give it to the qualified intermediary and he'll go buy the new property with it. Well, you don't have to go to cash so long as you can find a seller who understands what we're doing, and they probably want a 1031 forward as well. So a person comes to buy the, say this would be a small multifamily property, a 4-unit property, and they'll put a little bit of money down and they want a seller carry. The person with the 4-unit wants the retail center worth, a couple $1 million. So they go to the owner and say, hey, if we give you $1.6 million in a new loan, or ask you to sell or carry there, but let's just say all cash, and this was $2 million, and this was say 400,000. You can imagine how this transaction will take place. And I just want everybody to understand that this is something that can be done. And so when you're looking to sell your property and to buy a new one, and the person who wants to buy it needs help with financing, and you want to do a 1031, you can still do that. Okay. So, and if they offered you crypto and you didn't want crypto, you could give it to the qualified intermediary and find somebody with the property that wants crypto. You would do this at an exchange meeting in an exchange marketplace where other brokers are understanding the same concept. National Council of Exchangers is a group that I'm a member of, and a number of us are. There's also Society of Exchange Counselors. These are 2 national groups that exchange property, and you should have local groups in Illinois as well. We need to have more there. So get with Steve Smullen and work on a new group. Just to reiterate, this is a 1031 paper is when an agreement between 2 parties secured by and transferring title to real estate is given to a qualified intermediary, who then gives it to another owner of real estate, completing a 1031 tax deferred exchange. Basically, a regular 1031 does this with cash. And I'll just race through these real quick. This is
Hey, Blake, let me ask you a question real quick. Back up to your little cartoon as you described it.
Yep.
Suppose I don't want what you offer me. Should I just reject your offer?
Absolutely not, because you now have 2 things to market. You have your piece of property and you have this seller carry note and the down payment that you got. So now you have another means of going to the bigger property. So absolutely.
So are you saying that I started out with one piece of property for sale and I can go to the market with your property and with my property to find a taker for what I have instead of just my property?
Correct. And you could also offer them a financial instrument, which is the seller carry note, because some people don't want property. So if this person just was saying, I'm going down and out, they can take this, they'd get $1.6 million in cash. They'd get, say, 100,000 in cash or an RV or something, and the seller carry note. So which would give them monthly payments for however many years, and it'd be very beneficial to them. But if they didn't want that, they could go buy another property. And again, it gives you 2 things to shop with. And, in addition to cash, you still market the things for cash and try to, if you can sell it for enough cash and get enough cash to go to the next property, you do that. But if you can't, this is another tool in the toolbox. But thanks for the leading question, Steve. So here's a traditional 1031 exchange. You have your property, you have a certain amount of debt, certain amount of equity. Here's the value. You sell it, you give the money to the qualified intermediary, you go get new debt and new equity on the new property. All of these things still happen in this process. This is the same little cartoon. Here's your debt and equity. Here's your debt and equity. Here's your qualified intermediary. The vehicle is just not cash. Okay. The vehicle can be anything. And it can be Steve Streetman's cryptocurrency and, or anybody's. And so there's another resource. Steve has millions of dollars of cryptocurrency. So acknowledgement, I didn't invent this. A lot of people, the Bob Steeles of the world, who's 95 years old and into cryptocurrency and other exchangers, taught me about it. The idea of 1031 paper as a vehicle for exchange and change in our industry comes from the inspiration of all those exchangers who have gone before me. There are a lot of old guys. People have been doing exchanging for 60 years and very few brokers, commercial brokers, participate or are aware of it. And it's made my career. I've been licensed 36 years and it's changed my life. So visit my 1031 paper channel on YouTube. There's a lot of interviews there. There's a 2-hour course, including a CE course that on there that you can't get CE through YouTube. But all of this stuff is there for you to see. Thank you very much for your time. Here's my contact info. I put it in the chat. You actually have my cell phone, so don't put that on the internet. And I think that's it. Thank you very much. And I can stop sharing, and there we go.
Thank you very much, Blake. And
Thank
just
you.
a reminder before I introduce Larry, everyone, if you haven't put your contact information in the chat, including all the presenters, as many have asked, feel free to put questions in there. Mr. Cobb did put his closing remarks in the chat, and we will carry on with Larry next. He is the managing director of Sperry CGA. I don't even know how to say Esridge Commercial Real Estate.
Yeah.
Okay, in Washington, and he contacted me perhaps through the CCIM network. I'm in the process of submitting my CCIM portfolio, which that will be my one of my questions afterwards. I actually have a whole list of questions, is what the most interesting CCIM portfolio submission has been, whether it be in the crypto or exchange world. But he's going to talk a little bit about his experience and what he's doing for his clients.
Thank you, Teresa. So my name is Larry Yu. I'm the Managing Director, Sperry CGA, East Reach Commercial Real Estate here in Washington State. I also head the Sperry CGA Data Center Group, which I will talk a little bit more later, which will be related to today's topic, cryptocurrency. I'm the chapter president for CCIM in Washington State, and I'm also an NICAR director. So the group that I head in Sperry CGA data center. So what is data center? So when I talk about data center, I'm loosely referring to two main groups, enterprise data center and cryptocurrency mining, which is related to what we are talking today. So data center is a very niche food group in commercial real estate, just like hospitality, capital markets, or even restaurants. Usually we think of commercial real estate, we think about retail, office, industrial, multifamily, but that's actually a lot more to it. Our group, the total group has about 1,000 people altogether. So it's pretty wide. We are international in nature. We provide solutions, cradle to grave solutions in data centers. So again, when I mention data center, I'm talking about enterprise data center. What is enterprise data center? Facebook, banks. So these are enterprise data centers. A lot of companies have data centers, and then of course the other branch is cryptocurrency mining, which I will tend to focus on. So we primarily provide services in 4 different areas: real estate, technical, funding, and energy. So in real estate, everyone is very familiar with real estate. I think a lot of you are real estate people here. So we do acquisition, leasing, disposition, project management, asset management. And we do this in, forgive me if I get too technical here, so stop me and ask questions. So we do real estate, we do greenfield, we do brownfield, we do co-locations. So what is greenfield? Greenfield is where we buy a piece of land. There's nothing on there, zero. and we build a data center from scratch. Brownfield is where we take an industrial building, so something that's existing, and we convert it into a data center. And co-location is, there's a data center somewhere and they have space and we just co-locate, we just put you there, you know? So we co-locate with an existing data center. And so in the technical side of things, a big part of our group is in the technical side of the business. We do consultancy, we do strategy, design, engineering, development, even construction. We have an in-house funding group, Sperry Capital. So we fund developments and acquisitions. And the last part of it, the most important part of any data center or cryptocurrency, because it's so energy dependent, it's energy. So we do PPAs, power purchase agreements. We structure them. We talk to the local PUDs. Because cryptocurrency, data centers and cryptocurrency, they draw so much power. And it's running 24/7. So we have to get the price of electricity per kilowatt hour down to really affordable levels. And at this time, you know, we are talking about like 3 cents base price, or maybe 5 to 6 cents all in. And a big part of this is renewable energy. So a lot of our energy comes from coal, and a lot of enterprise and companies have ESG policies and statements. You know, they say, well, I want to stay away from non-renewable. Or perhaps there's an area in some rural parts of America where there's, you know, the grid is far away, so it might be more economical to do a renewable project. So we can come in, we can develop a renewable site next to a data center. So be it solar, wind, hydro. I hate to use the word nuclear, but you know, some people say nuclear is not clean, but it's one of the best forms of electricity. So I didn't prepare any slides for today. So that is in a brief nutshell of what we do. More than happy to answer any questions. You have my contact in the chat box, my email and cell number, or you can ask any questions right here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Larry. So that wraps up our presentation portion. We are going to ask questions. It would be helpful if you have questions to put them in the chat session, as we said, your contact information. And in terms of this presentation will be available after on YouTube. I don't know how long it takes before Mike can get it on, but probably at least a week or so. So I have a series of questions, and then if anyone else has other questions, please type them in. The first, the most simple is like, how do we even start in cryptocurrency? Like for people who really have not transacted in cryptocurrency, you know, is it reading? Or if we go to purchase, like what is like the most simple way to start? And then in that, like, how do we choose which cryptocurrency, you know, because there's so many different varietals. And then a hot topic right now, as we are talking about what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, obviously we just heard about the sanctions of their central bank. If they had cryptocurrency, could that have been sanctioned? Because I don't even know. So whoever wants to take these questions, go ahead.
I'll take a cut at it if you like.
Okay.
If you want to get familiar with cryptocurrency, you don't need very much money, right? Take a few $100s or something and open up a wallet, buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum. Those are two you'll have heard of. And then you can go and play around with a few dollars here or there based on whatever you think makes sense to you. You think of it as play money and not necessarily as an investment in that case. What you want to learn is how do you open a wallet? How do you send currencies? How do you do an exchange? You can get an account on something like CoinDesk, which has, it's a very, very major centralized exchange. And then if you get more ambitious, you can try other sorts of exchanges and other sorts of ideas. So simple way to do it, And all you're really trying to do is learn what a wallet is and how you use it and how you trade things around. So that's really good. It'll allow you to know the mechanics of it. I'd recommend also possibly getting a MetaMask wallet, because that's one of the more popular ones out there that it goes with a lot of different cryptocurrencies. So that's one of the things I always recommend for real estate investors. Just dip your toe in, don't spend a lot of money on it, and try to understand what the mechanics look like. The second thing you asked about Russia and cryptocurrency. If Russia, in fact, I believe Russia probably is moving to Bitcoin, and I believe Bitcoin has made a huge push in the past few days. Because if they have cryptocurrency, then while they're outside the standard approaches for monetary systems like the SWIFT, there's no way for the US to seize their Bitcoin assets. There just really is no way to do that. Bitcoin is completely decentralized. Now, this is not true for every cryptocurrency, but it is true for Bitcoin, and it is true for some of the others that are very, very decentralized. And not to say anything too badly, but if you really want to learn about it, you could read my book. And I also have a course up on my my website, the cryptorebook.com, where it's about 6 hours of video, and I go into more detail about what cryptocurrency is and what wallets are and what exchanges are, as well as how to use it for real estate. So, I mean, those are some options for you. But the best, easiest thing to do is to, go get yourself a MetaMask wallet, or go get an account on CoinDesk and put a little bit of money into it and just practice buying and selling.
Hey, Steve, there was a good question posted here. What does it cost to do that? What does it cost to set up a wallet someplace?
Nothing. It really costs nothing to set up a wallet anyplace. You don't
Wow, the answer was better than the question.
Yeah. Now you can, and as Mike pointed out, right, you can transact in Bitcoin in tiny, tiny amounts. So you can buy a couple of dollars of Bitcoin. Now, there are some transaction fees. So if you go too small, now you start hitting the same level as transaction fees. But you can transact in the tens of dollars with no issues at all.
Awesome. Thank you. I know that another question that was out there is who or what of how are values affixed to crypto?
I'm happy to take that one too, unless someone else wants to jump in. Hearing no takers. So what is usually done, and this is actually, it's a rather complex algorithm, but just like with stocks, you have asks, bid and asks for trades. And there are exchanges out there where you have bids and you have asks. And when you actually do that and you have a trade, then you have a value for that cryptocurrency. However, it's a little more complicated with cryptocurrency. With Bitcoin or Ethereum and maybe another handful of cryptocurrencies, you have trades directly for what we call fiat currency, or dollars, euros, whatever. We call it fiat currency because it's only currency because the government says so. But if you have some of the other cryptocurrencies, the ones that are not nearly as popular, not nearly as big, not nearly as liquid, when you actually sell that cryptocurrency, you don't sell it directly for dollars. You typically convert it into one of the top 5 and then into dollars. So you have this weird little situation where you have to look at the trades of your currency for Bitcoin and then Bitcoin for dollars, and you kind of multiply them together, and that's how they come up with a price. And I'm sure it's some sort of average over the last number of trades so that you have some idea about what's going on, or it could just be the most recent trade. And because there are multiple exchanges, you don't have a completely efficient market. So the price of Bitcoin on CoinDesk might be a little different than the price of Bitcoin on Kraken, which might be a little different than the price of Bitcoin on Poloniex. So you don't necessarily have a full coordination across all those exchanges. And I apologize for the complicated answer. It is a little bit of a complicated answer, unfortunately. But the bottom line is usually you can go look up the price at whatever exchange you're on, and it will tell you what the current price is, and it will show you often pricing over multiple days, weeks, or years.
We're going to be ready to go soon.
The next question is, what are typical transaction fees? Are they very different depending on which crypto?
They're incredibly different depending on which crypto. So, and in fact, for Bitcoin, it depends somewhat on how much demand there is for transactions and the priority you set on your transactions. So you can set priority for your transaction. If you want it to go faster, you pay a little bit more. If you want it to go slower, you don't have as much time criticality, you can pay less. But there's a whole bunch of different networks and each one has their own set of transaction fees. So transaction fees can be anywhere from a few cents to, I've heard as high on Ethereum as like a $10,000 gas fee at one point. But typically they're in the, a few cents to tens of dollars. And that's completely irrespective of the amount that you're transferring. So transferring $1 billion of cryptocurrency costs exactly the same as transferring $10 of cryptocurrency for the same transaction.
So someone had asked the spelling, I'm guessing, of CoinDesk, but assuming that they do go on CoinDesk, and I don't know if Coinbase is kind of the same thing or not, assuming they go on there, like what are some common mistakes when you start playing around that people make?
I guess the biggest mistake is losing your passphrase. So when you create a wallet, you create a passphrase. It's sometimes for some places it's actually a password, other places it's a passphrase. For a place like CoinDesk or Coinbase or whatever you want to, I think there's both actually. If it's a password and they're a custodian, the chances are you can get that back. You can go to them, they do a know your customer and they can get back to you so they can get that back for you. Same with the platform that we're creating for security tokens. We'll be able to restore people's tokens if they lose their password. But for standard wallets, if you create a wallet, you'll get a 12-word passphrase. You lose the passphrase, you lose the tokens. There are billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin that have been lost forever because people lost their passphrases. So don't do that. It's really simple. Write it on a piece of paper, put it in a file folder, right? Write it on a piece of paper, put it in a safe deposit box if you have a bunch. I mean, you can get hardware wallets that are like little thumb drives that you can store it on, and that's also a good way to do it. But that's the biggest mistake. You have to remember that anytime you send something, there's nobody that can get it back for you. So you absolutely want to make sure you have the wallet address correct before you send it. Sometimes some systems give you a QR code, or sometimes it allows you to copy the address. I would do that rather than type it out because these wallet addresses are like 20-some character alphanumeric things. And typing those in, I've done that, but it's a real pain in the butt and very prone to error. So, do whatever you can to make sure you get that wallet address right. I know that when we've done larger transactions, we've done a test run where we'll send like one token and we make sure it gets received, and then we know we have everything right, and then we send everything.
So for a while, one of the fraud situations in real estate transactions is if, for example, the attorney emailed the wire instructions, and if that had been hacked, then that money was redistributed. Can that happen with crypto? Is it, a good idea to make a phone call, a fax, old school fax? Has that happened in the crypto world? Where it's
well,
been
it
hacked?
depends on how you transfer the wallet address, right? There are some people, some systems will create actually a QR code. And if you send the QR code, any way you get that information to the person transitioning to it, if that method of sending that information can be hacked or spoofed, then you have a potential problem, just as you do with wiring instructions. So, you could confirm wallet addresses, but a lot of this is digital and a lot of this is online. And so there are some ways to get around that because you don't have to go through a counterparty like a bank.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to be wrapping up here in a few minutes. If anyone else has any questions that I missed, please retype them in the chat session and make certain that you've shared your information, your contact information in the chat. This is recorded, so you can reference it later if that's helpful. In terms of presentations, if the presenters want to send me, their slide deck, individual people email me. I'm not going to mass send out the slides, but you can email me. I did put my contact information in the chat, but it's info@teresamueller.com. I'm happy to pass along those slides. And then Mr. Cobb did say that he'd be happy to re-record his session and post it if anyone was interested. But his contact information is also in the chat. So I don't see any other questions in here. Is there any, things to watch for to avoid scams?
Well, there are a lot of scams out there, right? You look for things that are too good to be true. You look for things that are stupid. As with any investment, right? If you look for a syndication, you look at the experience of the syndicators, you look at the team that's behind it, you look at the credibility behind it. But that's really hard to do sometimes with cryptocurrency. I mean, think about Dogecoin. It was created as a joke, and then Elon Musk got behind it. And so a lot of people invested in it. So now one can almost argue that there's enough market behind it, it's investable. So is it a joke or is it investable? I mean, you have to look at, I'm not sure I'm going to give an opinion on that one, but different cryptocurrencies have different purposes and different uses. And every cryptocurrency usually has a white paper that's behind it that talks about what it does and how it works. Think of that like a prospectus, kind of like a business plan. And so looking at the white paper, if you want to know about a cryptocurrency, is a good way to begin vetting it.
Awesome. Are there any additional questions for the panelists? And like I said, this is recorded. And before I wrap up, I would be asking, everyone, all the panelists added value in terms of talking about crypto and exchanges and their real estate experience in this world. We would love to host other commercial practitioners, whether it be attorneys, market forecast, brokers, etc., from countries outside the US to highlight upcoming projects, whatever you think would really add value to the global commercial real estate space. And then also, if you do plan on attending NIPM, feel free to put that in the chat. So those of us who are going, we can connect. I don't see any additional questions. So I thank you, everyone, Mike, Steve, Blake, and Larry, for presenting today. The information, you gave us a wealth of information, and I actually, it's been on my to-do list, and I'm putting it on here today that I'm going to go to several of these exchanges, the CoinDesk, etc., and just put money in. I have no idea, since you said it's a few $100, I could spend that on a dinner. So what the heck, go try and get out there, and we can connect to see how our experience was. I appreciate everyone's time. We are ending the recording, but in that time, feel free to download the chat that had everyone's contact information, and feel free to reach out to me if you missed something, want the slides, or just didn't see it in the chat. I'd be happy to extend whatever information I have.
Hey, Teresa, can I throw one more thing in there at you?
Sure, go ahead, Steve.
I put a link in the chat to the National Council of Exchangers. If you want to learn about equity marketing, trading, and exchanging real estate, or cryptocurrency, or any other type of property that you own for that matter, you want to click to the NCE website. It's up in the chat. You're also welcome to reach out to me. I put my contact information in the chat a few times. And if you're not familiar, at the bottom on the right hand, on my screen, it's the bottom right hand of your chat box. There's 3 dots. Click on the 3 dots and just click Save Chat, and it saves it to your computer.
Steve, you're hired as my next personal assistant. Ahmed's like, woohoo!
Happy to help. Have a great day, everybody.
So when we finish recording the session, everyone is welcome to stay on for the commercial real estate needs and wants. It is just after 11. And so I'm going to end the recording and we can advertise there and give any information. Thank you again to all our presenters on the wealth of information that you provided today.